So, Keshav, tell us a little bit about your company and all that you all do out there for your customers. Yeah.
Yeah, my company's name is Plateronics Processing. It's located in Chatsworth, California. It's about 30 miles north of LAX. And this business has been there for 60 years, 60 plus years. So it was started by Joe Roter's father, and then second generation family took over, and then I took it over from Joe. So in a way, it's like a third generation in some way.
Right.
So
Right.
and it has gone through various iterations of meeting the environmental and requirements, customer requirements, and whatnot. So it has evolved. Company has evolved,
Mhm.
and as time has gone on, and with me coming in, this is a smaller facility. The facility is about 8,000 square feet processing
Mhm.
area, so nothing big, and it's limited by the space. We can't expand. So we have
Right.
tried to stick into the more technologically advanced areas where we can add more value to our customer, rather than going after bigger, volume number
Right.
of customers, right? So with that in mind, what we have done is we have seen that if you want to do quality work and complicated work, the one type of finishing sometimes may not be is not going to cut the deal. For example, in Boeing or any aerospace or defense part, you have 3-4 processes on the same part. So
Mhm.
you might have one process, but you can't win it. So, and having said that, it doesn't mean that you can never have all the processes under one umbrella. But that's where you mix and match and try to capture what you need. So what
Mhm.
we have done so far, that we have, rather than having a bigger tanks, we have more number of tanks.
Gotcha.
Meaning
Mhm.
that if somebody comes with, let's say, 10 by 10 foot, like say wing or aerospace part, we may not bid on it. But let's say if it's a communication part where they need electroless nickel, they need gold, they need also copper, and whatnot. So and the size is reasonable, few feet by few feet, then yeah, we can do that. So we have about 28 to 30 processes in that small area.
Mm.
Our tank size generally, I would say, average is around 100 gallons to 120 gallons. We do have some
Mhm.
700 or 800 gallon ones, but if you put average, then I would say around 100 to 120 would be a good number to stay with.
Right.
So we have, as I said, we have a lot of processes, and
Mhm.
we tend to do anodization, both type 2, type 3 with sulfuric.
Mhm.
We do, we used to, before, they used to have cadmium, chrome, but we have got rid of all those processes that are, and in the process of trying to get rid of minimizing and to some cases eliminating those processes which are becoming more troublesome to
Mhm.
continue because of regulation, and also OEMs are changing direction, but we do try to keep that in mind. So anodization wise, we just do sulfuric, both type 2, type 3. Then do we chem film, then we do copper, zinc, nickel, then some passivation,
Right.
silver, gold. So both anodization and metal finishing, we do quite very variations of all this, and primarily stay towards technology. I mean, in more technologically demanding applications.
Right.
Either it's the
Mhm.
industrial market or automotive or aerospace and defense or medical. We don't go as much market, but from the part perspective, we see that this part is not a commodity that
Mm.
it has to be just plated. No, it has to be for more like a visual, or like something like decorative type.
Mm.
We tend to stay in the functional side more,
Mm.
and for that reason, we have in last 10 years, we have moved towards having all certifications from ISO to AS 9100 to
Right.
NatCap,
Gotcha.
to
Gotcha.
show that we just don't say we are doing functional, but we also monitor and do things that can support what you're looking for.
Mm.
The overall company with a good legacy. good technological advancement, some limitations on the size, and both on the size of the company and the size of the parts that we can do.
Right.
But then we do add value on complexity. We do masking and stuff. So on top of so we can mask and do multiple processes on the same part, which is quite in demand sometimes for various, I would say,
Right.
complicated applications. So that's pretty much Plateronics in summary of Plateronics
Right.
is, as you can see, it's a long legacy company that I was able to get in and continue because as you might have seen that some of these companies they close their door in many cases, or they just don't have the technicalities to continue maneuvering through the today's demand, especially
Right.
in California,
Right.
to keep up
Right.
with air, water, storm water,
Right.
fire department, do,
Right. All of that.
navigating through all these demanding departments. It's not an easy task. So
Right. And how long have you? When did you take over the operation? How long ago was
about
that?
5 years now.
Gotcha. 5 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Had you had much experience with finishing before that, or? Um,
I mean, my background is in all in science and engineering. So I had, and then I was on the product side. So I would consider myself as an OEM more than in the
mhm.
either the product developer or directly to the OEM, providing the products to OEM. So
Mhm.
that's where I worked throughout my early phase of my career.
Mhm.
Then we used to send the parts for anodization and finishing. So
Mhm.
per se, I didn't have first-hand experience, but then the chemistry or the electrochemistry and all that, those things were not any new to me.
Right.
That's I studied chemistry, so it was
Right.
I knew it, but hands-on, no. To
Right.
answer your question,
Right.
hands-on, I never had experience until I
Right.
owned the
But
company.
you've been on both sides of the fence in finishing. You've been the customer, right? You've been
Yeah,
someone
yeah, oh yeah.
who's hired a lot of people, and I'm sure you've have some thoughts and ideas, and you apply that, I guess, as the owner now of a finishing operation, that you kind
Yeah,
of know what the customers are going through, right?
yeah. What customers are looking for and how to put them is stay keep them ahead in the game sometimes because they may not be um, on top of some of the things that are changing because right yeah, like they will just say, for example, they will say, oh yeah, I just want anodize, right? Type 2. Now type 2, something you can do sulfuric, boric, you can do chromic type 1, but you can also do type 2, type 3 with chromic. But then well, if the chromic is not going and if you specify that you only want chromic, well, I mean, with time you will be limited with your vendors because as regulations. So again, for now, doing the research now, that okay, what advantages you get by chromic can you get by from some other boric or sulfuric, so that you start working on your requirements now, because as we know, some of these um, industries, they are very notorious in not only the form, fit, and function, but also just the bureaucracy to change the drawing is
Right.
nobody wants to do anything, and in some cases rightly, because they have to test everything, now you have to do the x-ray and this and that and all that testing, stability testing, mechanical testing, and it's a lot of money and time. So
Mm.
but nevertheless, some point somebody has to do it if you want to change, and if the change is coming from top, where we as a supplier or they as an OEM have no say on it after a certain point of time, it's
Right.
better to know in advance. So I knowing both sides, to your point, definitely helps a lot, not just from the technical standpoint, but also from the service standpoint, and also from the financial standpoint, that
Right.
how to draw the boundary, that okay, if you're a small company or if you're just providing a service in a small way to a big part that may be meaningful, and your service is meaningful, but you are again in the bottom of the pile and just doing one little processing costing like $1 or $2 per piece,
Right.
so so how would you stand up and show that, hey, it's not about the money, it's not about just what it is very critical, process that can make or break your part or make
Right.
or break your application,
Right.
and we are here to support that. So to do that, it it doesn't make us any cheaper.
Right.
It has,
Exactly.
so
Right.
it's we have to go through the same business process that some big company has to go through. In some cases, you have to go through more with less resource. So
Right.
so from all those angles, it does help to have that background. So
Right. Right. Do you still have those other companies? I believe you still do. Is that right? Do you still have those other companies? Or
yeah. So like before I was like, so in first 5 years I worked for a photonics company, but then I worked for a medical device company, and then I started my own. So now I have like 6, 7 different companies, not all the
gotcha.
plating. So I do
Right.
have
Sure.
that. So for last 5 years, these
Right.
companies, and still in the process of acquiring.
Mm.
I like heat treat, and because from my physics background, and then like chemistry, like I feel the plating. So I look for heat treat and plating companies
Right.
to buy more of those and keep upgrading, because size matters with all these different regulations and surveys, and if you want to provide good surveys, good quality, good technology, I mean you can do on a very small scale. It's hard, um,
Right. Mm.
just because what you're competing with, because this is not a technology that is upcoming technology where you can find a niche and everybody's going to come to you. You can also come with that niche, but it will take years before your process
Right.
can get any sort of certification. So I don't think I can even make it to that point to get that thing, because if people are used to AMS 2404, I mean I can come up with the chemistry and say, hey, you know what, I can do AMS 2404 with all these different chemistry. But they will say, well, you have to go through all this certification and processing before Boeing and Northrop can say, yeah, that sounds okay, we will change it. I mean, it just you're an industry where it's innovation is valued, but to sustain that innovation, to get to that end point, is a big time and money game. So
Right.
so my philosophy has been that while you want to have that knowledge and have that capability, just continue what is accepted in it and improve that. Just do
Right.
it better.
Right.
Make it more efficient, make the employees more valuable, so that they feel good about what they do, and then uh, and give a good impression that, okay, these are good manufacturing jobs that can be very much different than, like, people saying that, oh, why do I not work at some fast food or restaurant or like some other Target and Costco and all that. Well, you can get all this right in some of these good manufacturing jobs. So that's
Right.
how I see that. And I think if
Right.
I can continue doing that and scale it, then maybe we can fund some of those side R&D type jobs, manufacturing processes that can perhaps one day can get accepted and can be meaningful to the community and to me as well. So
Right, right. Yeah, I was going to say, and the fact that again you are on both sides of the fence
Mhm.
as a different. I know some finishers, it's all they do, right, and that's all they see, and it's their own
Mhm.
view of how businesses run. But I
Mhm.
guess it gives you a different perspective about that, correct? Of as you run this finishing operation, of knowing what's out there and where the markets are changing and what the demands are changing and what needs to be done to attract those type of customers like yourselves, probably.
Yeah. I mean, some of my companies, we do work for our own companies. Yeah.
Right.
So.
Right,
Mhm.
right. Yeah, I was gonna say. Well, when you got into this side of it 5 years ago, what was one of the biggest surprises you had about running a finishing operation that maybe you hadn't really knew before, as you're working with other customers out there in the that are coming to you? Any big surprises that
No,
or,
I wouldn't say like surprise was, it was more to me rather than the market or the company. It was a big change for me working from like this, 10, 25, or hundreds of $1 million companies, going back and running a small operation with 30 people. So that was a
mm,
big surprise, where you are constantly you're wearing multiple hats,
mm,
and learning everything from HR to accounting to maintenance to whatnot, right? So that definitely brought a lot of surprises, but in a good way, because it makes me I enjoy like putting my hands into things and learning and figuring it out. So it worked out fine, but I think that was but most of it is in a good way. It was a surprise in a good way, but I knew it that then when you go from big company where you have HR department, accounting department, and 10 people in accounting, one and all that resource, to something where you have like 2 people in front office. I knew something like that is going to be expected, and so nothing. I mean, all good stuff. All good stuff.
All good stuff. Yeah. And like I said, this you just became a president of the Metal Finishing Association of Southern California. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And what made you do? I know you've been on the board there for a bit. What made you kind of lead you to that organization and eventually want to kind of lead the chapter?
Yeah. So one of the thing we all know that metal finishing is very challenging.
Mm.
But then the again, the surprising part was that people never talk about how we can improve the the processing. Majority of the time where it is spent is how to maneuver the regulatory requirements, and basically, and then you are basically just trying to be in existence than anything else, right? So a couple of things. One thing is I saw that there is a need to make people understand that the scale is important. Right? Otherwise, otherwise you won't enjoy the profession to some extent, right? And that came from again, having that education and both scientific and business education, where the scale is important. Doesn't matter how good you are, how good you do to your customer, but if you don't have a scale, you will, as an owner, will stretch yourself so thin that it's very hard to enjoy what you do.
Right.
So that front. Then technology standpoint also, most of these businesses have been transferred from first generation to second to third generation. So, or now there's a new group of people, private equity, who just wants to own the company.
Right.
And in both cases, later is even worse, because when they go private equity, go on it, they really have no idea sometimes. Like if somebody walks away or something happens, how would you sustain the company, right? How do you run these businesses, right? They do have money, but so they, depending upon their deal, either they kill the company or they kill themselves, right? Kind of, in some cases. Or if it is an owner transfer, so then maybe perhaps, let's say, father or second generation, they were pretty good with chemistry and engineering and science, but as it got transferred from first to second, in some cases it got better, but majority of the cases you will find out that it went from a skill set standpoint, it just went to the next generation and next generation, and it got diluted. So between this dilution of understanding of the business, and you have this financial pressure where you don't have a scale, because a lot of these businesses are small businesses, there's a lot of good closer amount, and people have this pessimistic viewpoint of plating, and being in my situation where I at this point, I mean, I just don't do these things just for a job, because I know what kind of job I can get and what life I can have, right? So the good thing is I've experienced it, and if anything, it has only gone better with my confidence and knowledge and experience. So I never worry about that part. So I'm in a way lucky with my education and experience, that I never worry about my paycheck. So I thought, okay, how can I contribute to the society? And I see these people, is there anything I can do for this society now that I have my own plating company? And it's a decent size industry, and good people. If there is anything I can share what I have learned and learn from them at the same time to help my company, existing company, or in the future if I expand this. So it seemed like a mutual beneficial thing for me. So when the opportunity came, they asked me, I said, yeah, I will be happy to share my knowledge and time to see what I can do for the plating community. So that's how the conversation started, and then I have taken this role now to see what I can do for next few years.
Right, right. Do you have any, like you said, you're coming from an outsider's opinion, view, which is refreshing a lot of times because, like you said, a lot of people, sometimes this is a second or third generation, fourth generation, if it gets to that. A lot of people just, things don't change, right? Uh, I mean, do you have anything that you kind of would like to incorporate based off, maybe being a part of other associations, other industries that you've been that aren't finishing, that maybe you could bring into to this? Have you had any thought about maybe incorporating some of that, or plans for how you're going to over the next year or so?
Yeah, like so definitely like no what I'm like primarily what I'm focused on is like how I can make some of the challenges that they are bringing
Mm,
more obvious for them so that they can learn it, that this is how you handle the situation. You can, because the business is not going to change just because you don't like it, right? Or the business process is not going to change, or the environmental regulation or expectation of humankind from uh, like from environmental stuff. None of these things are going to change. It's just how you are you ready to adapt it, and
mm,
are you ready for that adaptation? Either by yourself or you have that leadership skill to bring it and hire right group of people to take you to that next level if you do want to go. Do
right.
you have that or not? So how I can bring it now, being the part of associations, I have been part of like different societies throughout my career, and I'm also still in part of some other things. So I do bring that kind of perspective and knowledge from different places. But per se, I haven't looked into collaboration in metal finishing side. Although I see, like for example, other coating society, like anodization society, there is electroless nickel society. So I do see there are a lot of different societies in this field. And I think
Mm,
again that they have what they have done. They are missing on the scale benefit of a scale. Um,
hmm.
but but as we know that in technology there is always this ego. Everybody has a little ego, so they don't want to see that bigger perspective. Because think about this, having an electroless nickel society apart from self-finishing, or having an anodization society apart from metal finishing, I mean, really, you don't need it, because metal finishing is not big enough that you need to have all these different societies. On top level, at least on national level, yeah, if you really want to do, you can split it on a state level or perhaps multi-state level, and that might make sense. Because yeah, but having these variations, so I know it did exist. I have not been part of that, and I don't think that with my scope of work, what I have here, I can make that happen. But I do anticipate to bring some of these things on the national level, um,
Right,
in some way
right.
or other, and let people decide if they believe that it can add value. Rather than having this, if they want to put forces together and benefit, that may be a good thing. If they do that, if not, like as I said, I'm more definitely focused on making sure that the shops that are members of our society, they feel good about their business, and
Hmm.
they make it more sustainable. If they want to retire, they are in good hands, so that somebody else, feels that, or like me, who is available to take their legacy and continue, rather than them shutting the door, or getting into some sort of trouble where they have to shut the door. If they are proactive, they can avoid that. Um, Basically, those are the things that I think we can definitely accomplish in coming
Hmm.
years. So
Right,
that will be
right.
my primary focus. Yeah,
Yeah.
but then
It,
big picture wise, I will try some. But if it doesn't happen, that's just something not in the scope anyway. So
right, right. You're getting back to, you were talking about you have a finite size of your facility. You really can't
mm,
expand with that. So you really have to be as efficient as you can with every square foot that you've got there. I guess
yeah.
you can't really, buy the building next door and, and knock it down and add things. Sometimes they won't let you add things, but so you really have to be as efficient and look at every operation you've got and making
Mm,
sure it is per square foot is getting the bang for the buck, right? It's being utilized as best
Yeah,
as it possibly can, right?
that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, are you planning any changes or anything? Or I know you've had it for 5 years now. I'm sure you've probably
Yeah.
done a lot of those things. But are
Yeah.
you planning anything else to kind of make it as efficient because of those
Yeah. So
constrictions that you
next
have?
phase is like, we might take it to the second shift.
Mm,
Just add the second shift. But what I plan is I would, because I don't have all the, like processes, and I don't have all the sizes that I can process. So
mhm.
for me, I'm more like, priority wise, my would be if I can find some place that is a complementary to what I do, I acquire and expand that way.
Gotcha.
Because
Right.
second, and reason for that is, again, I think that these are manufacturing, those heavy lifting jobs. So again, I feel that the second shift, I'm not sure how good of a team I can really build with the kind of um, workforce that we have in this marketplace right now. So it's just the matter of like, like, and starting from scratch and having multiple companies myself right now, I have limited amount of time to do
Mm,
that kind of grassroots development.
right.
So I think I can add a lot more within my experience. I can add a lot more value to a company that somebody wants to retire. I can
Right.
add a lot more value, and make those people who have been there for 30, 40 years, their life a lot better very quickly compared to hiring new set of people, while some other, because the point is the overall market is not growing that speed. So if I say, if I go from, let's say, X to 2X by adding second shift, I'm just going to take away business from somebody. And that happens to be because I'm more focused and I know how to maneuver things more. So on
Right.
the cost of somebody else's business. So from that
Right.
perspective, also, I feel better that
Right.
I am not taking anybody's business. I'm just trying to make your business more sustainable so that if somebody else comes with money also, they can't take away your business, for example. Because right
Right.
now, if it don't, I mean, in plating, if you don't do anything, if the market stays flat, if you're not growing 3-5%, that means you're not doing a good job, right? Because
Right.
3% of the shops close automatically. So
Mm,
if we assume that market is just flat, no price increase, nothing is happening, still you should grow 3%. So there aren't very many
right.
industry like that, right? So
Right.
so that
Right.
that's the right way to see. So I feel that, okay, and on the second, I also know there are hundreds of plating companies. They are on the verge of either closing the door, or there is no uh, people don't want to take it. Yeah, if they are like 10 plus million, then private equity will come in. And I have seen private equity also, some of the good companies, they have taken over and they have shut the door down,
Mm,
just because because they do go for these bigger ones. So some of them become very successful, but then the other ones, they just shut the door. Like, they don't even, because some problem
right.
comes over here. Like in California, there was a Caltech plating, good shop. Some issue happened, and then they just shut the door down. So
Shut that down.
you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Interesting.
so so that's what I feel, that, like, rather than just pulling the business, I mean, I just think that if we can start making businesses more sustainable, and if, or help some other companies. I keep telling in society, so association also, that if you do less than 10, and if you have got an opportunity where you are within 5 miles radius, and both parties can come to an agreement, and you guys can merge and make it scale like 8 to 10, it's just going to make you both better. At the end, it will be better lifestyle, more, maybe same money or more money, even you will take it. All you have to let it go is just a little bit of ego, and figure out how to work with some other person. I mean, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You have to just do some of these things. And so that's my philosophy, that, like, these, the businesses which are very established, sometimes there is a value in just putting things together, or just making it run a little better, and both of these can continue, unless you want to I mean, if your goal is to, okay, you want to be another Facebook owner, then plating is not the place. You don't want to, you are not going to overnight, you are not going to create an overnight company that will do 100 or 200 million in few months or few years basis. If you are looking for that kind of business, then this may not be the right one. But good thing is a lot of these people have been doing this for a long time, so they understand. What they don't understand, as I said, is their understanding of scale is very limited. They just complain. I mean, yeah, like environmental, but what if you have an environmental engineer in your office who is not, you don't have to deal with
Right.
it. You just, but then obviously, yeah, that person is going to cost you six figure. And right now you're doing for free kind of as an owner. So there's a difference. But if you have a scale where that six figure salary is not a burden to you, it's a win-win for everybody. You created
Right.
more job, you are attracting, and guess what? If you have these lot of six-figure salary in your company, it also makes these companies more stable. Because I'm pretty sure one of, if not all, but one of them will start thinking it through that, hey, it may be a good idea to just own it when my owner retires.